Now, President Trump has called the military operation against Iran Operation Epic Fury, a mission to protect Americans, stop Iran's nuclear ambitions, and even bring freedom to the Iranian people. He's urged Iranians to overthrow their government once strikes conclude, describing it as a historical chance for political change. When you hold that against what it actually does, the pattern shifts. Trump frames this as defense and liberation, freedom from dictatorship, and elimination of imminent threats, stopping nuclear weapons that have never existed, the same way that happened with President Bush. And it's a powerful narrative. Now, acting on these narratives doesn't require war. Diplomacy, sanctions, inspections, verified nuclear agreements, all of that could have played a role. So when war is chosen instead, it amplifies political leverage and not just security. War with a distant foe serves a domestic political logic. It shifts public attention to fear and defense instead of local, domestic issues. It supposedly demonstrates strength to the core 20% of people who he can do no wrong to. It creates a narrative of existential battle that unifies factions that might otherwise disagree. And it's not just geopolitics, it's political psychology. And this is why the administration uses terms like defend the American people, despite also acknowledging U.S. casualties are likely to occur. Many U.S. lawmakers, both Democrats and Republicans, argue that these strikes were unauthorized by Congress and potentially unconstitutional, as they are. They've pointed out that existing law requires legislative approval for war powers, and that this wasn't sought before the strikes. What this does, structurally, is shift war-making authority away from democratic checks and towards executive unilateralism. That isn't just a shift in foreign policy, that's a power shift in domestic governance. Every time that a political leader escalates a foreign conflict, public attention shifts nationally, even temporarily, toward issues of national security and away from domestic grievances. And this pattern repeated in U.S. history when internal political challenges mount. It's just a pattern. Existential conflict absorbs internal tension. Now, labeling a nation as an evil, wicked, radical dictatorship or a sponsor of terror resonates with people's tribal identity. Us versus them, good versus evil, freedom versus tyranny. These narratives make critique feel unpatriotic, but narrative framing is not the same as structural solution. War, just because they've threatened for decades, is not a good policy. It's just a meta gesture for identity reinforcement to those who are brainwashed. When the official story is freedom and defense from the party, the systemic story is around narrative legitimacy, consolidating power within his own base of support, centralizing power, distraction from the country's internal contradictions, and bypassing democratic processes. These outcomes don't invalidate every claim about security, but it's meant to recontextualize the motivations behind the choice of war. If you would like to stay up to date on current events, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be around to deliver high resolution pattern recognition. Be safe out here.